Number nine, number nine, number nine, number nine, number nine. All right, so here's the experiment. We're hoping that when we play this backwards, it'll sound just like this.
Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Michael Noland here, and tonight we're going to ask an important question. Is Robert Plant still relevant? Now I'm going to get to that in just a minute, but I got a couple of things I got to get off my chest here. Evidently, Gene Simmons has stated that he sees nothing wrong with 4 20-year-olds putting on the Kiss makeup and taking over from them. Are you freaking kidding me? This is akin to who's gonna play Harry Potter in 2030 when they remake that series, or who will play the new Captain America or Iron Man. Ridiculous. You know, I've gotten a couple of commenters who say, well, you know, the past is the past, let it die, man, and these bands should be able to play and make whatever money they want. Wrong. You know, you can pay high prices for tickets all you want, but I got news for you folks. That's not what rock and roll once was. And it's exactly where rock and roll needs to be today. And another thing, you know, shortly after I did my video on Bruce Springsteen's high ticket prices, I watched a few other YouTube channels do their video sharing their thoughts on just how culpable Bruce Springsteen is over this. And you know what? I am amazed. Bruce Springsteen fans do not blame the boss. Bullshit. It seems to me that many Bruce Springsteen fans are so big of fans that this clown can get away with whatever he wants. Again, I'll reiterate, he's been a multimillionaire, close to billionaire status, longer than he was ever a working class hero. Okay, so with that said, let's get into the meat of the subject of tonight's video. All right, so the reason I bring up those two things, it's kind of connected with what I want to talk about tonight. Is Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin fame still a relevant artist showing us the way even today? Well, I not only say yes, but I'm going to give you some examples of what I'm talking about. First of all, if you haven't seen the film Robert Plant and the Sensational Space Shifters, do yourself a favor and watch that film. Here we see Robert Plant fully engaged with a whole different group and kind of musician. A perfect blend of traditional rock instrumentation along with some down-home, homemade instruments at times. This film is a treat. And yes, there are a couple of Led Zeppelin reworks. You know, I love this about Robert. He knows that his fans wants to hear him do some Led Zeppelin songs. He no longer has the range to do them exactly like Led Zeppelin did, but does that stop him? Never. Rather, he reworks them, and he reworks them as masterpieces of art and gives us a whole different picture than what we got with those original Led Zeppelin recordings. Magnificent. But you know, it's his latest project that's really got me excited. And of course, that's his new album with Alison Krauss, Raise the Roof. You know, I've listened to this album for the last 2 weeks and it is amazing. With only one song claimed to be written by Robert Plant, or at least co-written by Robert Plant, this is an album of reworkings of songs more than it is anything else. And guys, it's fantastic. You know, first of all, if you haven't heard this album, I've got to tell you, this is not like what they've put out before. You know, Robert Plant and Alison Krauss's voices, they sound like they were meant to sing together. And it's with the opening track that you know there's a flavor to this album. And you know what? It's very Led Zeppelin-like at times. No reworking of Led Zeppelin songs, but rather a reworking of songs in a very artistic way that, well, makes this album an artistic statement. Take that, Gene Simmons, and kiss my ass. You know, on the channel, I haven't really mentioned the Everly Brothers before, but I gotta tell you, I'm an Everly Brothers fan from back when I was 2 years old. I'm one of those people who have memories back that far, and I remember my mom and dad driving my Uncle Larry back to the base. He was in the Army at the time, and I heard "Wake Up Little Susie." I was an instant fan for life. You know, on track 2 we have the song "The Price of Love," and it is by Phil and Dawn Everly. You know what my advice would be for you guys if you haven't heard this album? Just go and look up that track by the Everly Brothers and give it a listen. And then go over to this album and listen to it again. They have totally reinvented this song. Robert and Alison have put their thumbprint on this song. This is the same kind of forward movement that is so severely lacking in today's simian-like rock and roll. Now, I know I've used that word a couple of times to describe Gene Simmons, but what else do you call a guy who wants to put 4 monkeys up on stage to do his freaking job? Another excellent track, a little bit old-fashioned sounding, but we don't mind that, do we? "Searching for My Baby." What a hook on this song, and their voices blend so beautifully together. Now, I'm just covering a few highlights on the album. I want you guys to take a look at it and discover this for yourselves, but I gotta tell you, they go in and out. And by that, I mean there are tracks where Robert does most of the singing, and there are tracks where Alison does most of the singing. And you know what? Those tracks are wonderful. But it's the tracks with both of them equally supplying vocals. My goodness, this has got to be the most exciting album of the year for me. It certainly isn't Beyonce's album. You know, PC Beyonce. Oops, she used the word spaz. She has to re-record it. We can't use the word spaz anymore. You know, I'm an old psych nurse, and in California, we kept reinventing words to describe the developmentally disabled. There was a time when the word retarded was not only PC, but it wasn't even questioned. Later, we were told to call the people we cared for patients. And then later on, when the state of California thought they were a business, we were told to call them consumers. Make up your freaking mind, folks. Anyway, I want to talk about Beyonce's album in the future. Have you looked at the lyrics on this album? I mean, it goes row after row, repeating the same old line. Now, I know my generation had their fair shares of na 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 na, hey hey hey, kiss 'em goodbye, or na na na, hey Jude. Yes, of course. But you know, acts today, these are the major part of their lyrics, and they actually have the guts to print them on a liner note. In the meanwhile, where do we find real forward-facing rock pop at its finest? From a man who many think should have retired years ago. Sorry, folks, ain't gonna happen. And the wonderful Alison Krauss. You know, this whole album is a blend of styles, and you know what? For those of you who like that analog sound, this album rings of an analog approach. And I say that without even knowing how it was recorded. It may have been, as most albums are today, recorded digitally. But it has that analog sound. Give it a listen to, folks. You will not be disappointed, I guarantee you. You know, we only have 3 members of Led Zeppelin left, don't we? And John Paul Jones has experimented over these decades with some very interesting sounds, and Robert Plant is doing it here. Now, Jimmy Page has backed off from playing as much as he used to, and he's not involved, as far as I know, with any current up-and-coming projects, but he is the wizard, and he's aged, and it seems to me that the wizard is busy perfecting his potions. How can you count out Jimmy Page if he is still trying to bring us the very best versions, the very best remixes of Led Zeppelin? He's the curator. Robert Plant's always been the voice of Led Zeppelin. And John Paul Jones, of course, their secret weapon. You know, it seems to me we're right in the era of the metrosexual, cutesy pie lead singer, songwriter, and I'm sick of it. And there's a good reason for that. I got sick of Donny Osmond like 5 seconds before I ever heard it. Anyway, from the first track to the last track, somebody was watching over me, you experience a total wonderful album from track 1 to the very last track. All right, so that's it. A quick video tonight, no doubt, but I did want to get us back on track with my Led Zeppelin Decoded series, and the next time we return to the series, I'm going to drop in on Led Zeppelin right when they could have been perceived as the first band to actually start doing home recordings where everybody in the band is involved in that. Now, the names you see in front of me are brand new subscribers. I always give a shout out at the end of my videos for new subscribers. And by the way, for those of you who have shared my videos, you are the people who are responsible for this channel's growth. And I just want to say thank you. If you enjoyed tonight's video, give us a thumbs up. That helps the YouTube algorithm better identify the channel, of course. And please, let me know what you think about this album. I always look at the comments and I am very interested in what you guys think of this album. Seriously, folks, listen to this album. Do yourselves a favor. This is wonderful. I'm gonna try and see these guys live as they come to my area. All right, so that's about it for tonight. I'm Michael Noland. Of course, this is The Bottom Line, and I'll see you in my next video.